The weekend, let's go and check in on the oil and gas space. It's been really some volatile trading in oil, some heavy falls happening at different points of the week. Lifting today, though, ahead of today's decision by OPEC, where it is widely expected that the cartel will ease its production ceiling and lift supply capacity. But there are some pretty powerful and very divided views being expressed. For insights from the ground in Vienna, let's welcome in Peter McGuire. He's the XM CEO. So, Peter, welcome to the program. You've made the pilgrimage once again this year. In studio with me, I have Andrew Page from strawman.com and Steve Goldman from Capstream Capital. Peter, why, how much of an impact, how important has this week been to the future direction of oil markets?
Well, I think it's very, very interesting, to say the least, Nadine. You've got so many moving parts. You've got President Trump and what's happening as far as trade issues in China. You've got Venezuela and Iran saying that we want to see naturally an increase in pricing. And then you've got the Saudis doing a JV in all matter of fact, a partnership with Russia. So there are many, many different moving parts and many, many different agendas on the table.
I understand that Iran actually walked out of talks at one stage of the game. I mean, how convinced are you that we will see some sort of a deal being done to increase production?
I think from a policy side, this is probably one of the most important meetings that I've covered for probably the last couple of decades. Quite simply, we may see a return to what we saw in 2011. The situation there was a divided issue and a divided meeting, and I wouldn't be surprised to go down that pathway again, Nadine, and that will possibly be an outcome. We're saying that you could see 600 to 1 million barrels extra production coming online. And you've also got the shale issue in the United States, which is now incrementally the largest producer over the last 12 months. So there are many, many different agendas, and then you're talking in sanctions going into the Iran and nuclear and so on. So, yeah, I think it's going to be quite fascinating.
And, remember the days, Peter, when we used to sort of turn our nose up at any deals being done between the OPEC cartel members because there was the assumption that they would be breaking those restrictions or production output targets regardless. Has that gone and faded to the background? I mean, if they do come up with some sort of an agreement, if they do, target certain levels of production, will everyone toe the line necessarily?
Well, I think, yes, that's exactly it. That's the compliance angle, Nadine, and I feel as though that there seems to be a far more holistic partnership consideration across the group. They're talking about coordination. They're talking about being aligned, and that was very much the presentation from the Secretary-General yesterday at the Hofburg Palace. There was a 2-day think tank on petroleum. OPEC put that on, and then that leads into today's 174th meeting. So there's no doubt they're really trying to lift their political connections, their PR to the world. And more importantly, we've got 1.3 million automobiles in the world using petroleum, and you've got the other side, 3 million only using electric vehicles. So it's a long way to go for any disruption really on the big number. And that's where I think OPEC are very much mindset that they want to see a continued push to the upside.
Well, oil options definitely showing that bulls and bears are on edge over this meeting, as you're saying they should be. Peter, I'm curious, what do you learn from being there in Vienna while this meeting is ongoing? I mean, who are you speaking with? What sort of reflections are you going to be bringing back home with you?
Well, you get the opportunity, Nadine, to see it firsthand as far as oil ministers and what their teams are discussing. You're standing only a matter of 2 or 3 metres from them. And the open forum discussion, there just seems to be no sense of anywhere to hide. They're very much, have their heart on their sleeves. And they're very, how would you say, patient and trying to get the best possible outcome for the cartel and naturally for their other members. When you look at the likes of Russia, who would have thought they would have been partnering now with the likes of Saudis and so on? They're new players globally being involved, and it's a different world today than what it was, 10 or 15 years ago or 20 years ago as far as oil production. So I think that that's really what you glean from these particular meetings.
Yeah, that's fascinating stuff. Okay, Peter McGuire, what's your sort of estimations for where oil will be trading after this meeting is wrapped?
I reckon you're going to see 600 to 1 million barrels as far as increase. And I wouldn't be surprised for possibly a little bit of, whipsawing, which is understandable, and probably a little bit of weakness over the rest of the trading session leading into NYMEX tonight. So that's where I see it, and I feel as though that you'll probably see a little bit of softness over the next couple of days. But I tell you what, it's a very hard one to forecast, considering that there's no guarantee you're going to see that 600 to 1 million. You may see more even. Who knows?
Yeah, well, thank you for being our eyes and ears on the ground there, Peter. We look forward to talking when you get back and when all this wraps up. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Nadine.